he's saying, threatening me and stuff. So I just said to him one afternoon, I said, see that piece of wood there? You ever go near me? I said, turn your back on me and I'll smash your head in. They took me up and they put me in Walton. Well, I've got shoulder length hair because I'm a hippie. Anyway, so as soon as they see me, one of them come straight over and said to the screw, what's he doing here with long hair? And I said, listen, you're not cutting my hair. He jumped up and he went, you don't get your hair cut. He said, we'll hold you down and cut your hair. I said, well, if you do that, I said, I'm going straight to the Liverpool Echo. I'm going to blow this place up. And then when they caught me, fortunately, I should have had 15, but things went wrong and I only had 5 kilo. So anyway, that's when they arrested us. It was mad because it was in the police headquarters, like 13 stories high. They used to throw the black ANC out. It was famous. They used to throw them out the window.
What?
Oh, yeah.
People were getting thrown out of windows?
Oh, yeah, dead. When I was in Hull, they had a riot. I was only there 7 months. There was 27 IRA in there. So anyway, what happened was, this one night, this lad got put in the block, solitary, and then someone said he'd been beaten up. So they sat down on the centre of the prisoners, and he wanted to see him. So this young screw foolishly opens the gate. Next minute, all the prisoners on the centre rushed on to this A-wing, and they just rushed up, and they just wrecked it. Ripping doors off, everything. On the A-wing, it was the office. So they had all the files in there, started looking through, and they were finding out all the grasses. What happened with the 27 IRA, as soon as the riot happened, they went straight to the front of the prison. They climbed up on the roof. So when the riot took off, there was 12 screws in the gym. So they got locked in the gym. They were trapped in the gym. So the soldiers were trying to get in to get them out, right? But the IRA were throwing down, big coping stones on this Saracen car. So they couldn't get out of it. We were in there 4 days. It was surrounded by the army, the police, all the helicopters.
So I am here with Jimmy Bannon, and it is a hell of a story. Shout out to Billy Moore. That's where I found Jimmy. And Jimmy's book also, The Great Divide, is on Amazon. Link will be in the description box. But I'll just read you from the introduction so you can understand the scope of what we're about to get into. So in the intro, the guy is saying that he was with Jimmy and they were caught with 200 kilos of Moroccan hash in Wigan, Lancashire. Wow. This was the largest seizure of drugs ever made in the northwest of England until then, and the following year, 1975. So he gets a case on that. But this thing goes all over the world. Jimmy nearly lost 200 kilos in Amsterdam. And it's like, I think Billy Moore described you as the Howard Marks of Liverpool, didn't he?
He did, yeah, sure. It was quite big at the time.
Well, thank you for coming on.
It's a pleasure, Sean.
And let's just go back to what it was like for you then at the beginning of your life.
Okay, Sean, yeah. Well, I was born in Liverpool in a place called Bootle. And in my first year, I caught pneumonia twice. And I came through all that. Anyway, my father, he was in the Royal Navy and he was a radio officer. And so as I grew up, all his stories about the Navy and the war and all that, I was just entranced. So anyway, I tried to join the... what happened was there was a company called Alexander Towing Company, and if you went on the company for a year working on the deck, you could become an ordinary seaman and go straight deep sea. So anyway, I was offered the job, and I went down. I had to take a lantern test. So anyway, when I took the lantern test, it was for colour blindness, and it turned out I'm colourblind. So that stopped me from being able to be a deckhand on the thing. So I worked for a year doing different jobs, laundries, boy, all kinds of order boy. And anyway, I applied to the Merchant Navy to be taken on in the catering, because if you were colourblind, you could go in the catering. So anyway, I also applied to the Army, and then when I got the replies from them, they came on the same morning, and the Army was accepting me to the Army, but then the other one was my dream, the Merchant Navy. So then they took me on. I had to go to a sea training school called Reoffending Catricks in Gloucester for 8 weeks to be trained, and then I got my first ship out of Liverpool, which was called the Martina. It was a banana boat going to Jamaica. So anyway, it was only a month trip, so we went, and then I come back. And then I joined the ship and went to South America. And I sailed both coasts, the East Coast and the West Coast. And I had an amazing, as you would see in the book, an amazing life. And anyway, when I was 19, I met a girl, and we planned to get married. And anyway, I ended up on a big cruise liner called the Empress of England. It had 800 crew. And it used to have to work 13 hours a day, 7 days a week, but the money was amazing, and I loved the job. So anyway, everything was all right for 9 months. And then they sold the ship. So there was 800 crew at the pool, what they call a pool, where you went to get your ships. So anyway, it was just like, I was out of work for weeks, and in the end I had to take this ship, which was going to New Zealand, and it was a 5-month trip. Well, in the meantime, my girlfriend, she'd become pregnant, and so it would have meant I would have had to be away in Australia when the baby was born. But anyway, I had no other option. I had to take the job, so I took the job. And the ship had to sail to the continent to pick up grain, then return to London, and then we were going deep sea to Australia. But anyway, I ended up, the ship was crazy. When we were in Antwerp, there was pork chops served one night, and 37 of the crew got food poisoning, including myself. Anyway, we goes back to London, and in the meantime, I'd met these two seamen. They were actually deckhands, and one was from Manchester called Les, and he was gay. And in them days, you're talking 63, you didn't get people working on the deck, and Les was a hard man. So anyway, when we got back to London, we were in King's Dock in London, and anyway, this night we went out for a drink, and we were in this pub. And anyway, this fella came in the pub. He looked a bit, threadbare. He had an old Mac on and this, and he come and sat next to the three of us, and was giving us a hard luck story. So anyway, we started buying him drinks, and then when the pub closed at 11:30, we took him back to the ship with us. So anyway, we're in the cabin, Les's cabin, having a great time drinking, trying to forget about leaving England. And anyway, this fella, he's getting real drunk with us, and then this Les, his boyfriend, he's with his boyfriend, so they go to the toilet, right? So I'm left with this fella, and anyway, he just gets up, starts rooting around the cabin, looking in the cupboards. So I said to him, "What are you doing?" Just told me to F off. So anyway, I goes out into the alleyway and I shouted Les. So anyway, he comes running down with his boyfriend, and he come in the cabin, and the fella's off his head, and he's still rooting through the clothes. So anyway, Les just like gets him. What are you doing? And just gives him a slap and throws him out into the alleyway. Well, Les had a big radio in the porthole, and it was an outside alleyway where you could walk down past the portholes. Anyway, so we all start drinking again. And then this fella, he must have gone round onto the alleyway, and he grabs the radio out of the porthole and then starts running down the deck. So anyway, we jump up. Les runs to the front of the ship, and we run to the back because we don't know which way he's going. So anyway, we get out on the deck, and I put my head out and I see him running down, and then I seen him looking back, and then I seen Les pop his head round the corner. So the fella runs right onto it. Les steps out, punches him. He goes off his feet, lands on his back, and the radio smashes on the deck. So anyway, they start kicking him. And they're kicking him and kicking him. And the ship was unloading grain, so it was right high out the water, and there was a barges next to the ship. So anyway, they're kicking him. So I jumps in. I said, leave him alone. You're going to hurt him, you know. So anyway, the guy starts biting my leg. So he's hanging on to my leg. So I'm screaming. And anyway, they just start kicking him. Anyway, they get him then, arms and legs, and they're going to throw him over the side of the ship. So anyway, I looks over, sees the boss. I said, what are you doing? You're going to kill him? It was about like 150-foot drop. So anyway, they come to the senses because we're all drunk on whiskey and that. Anyway, he comes to his senses. And anyway, they're going 1, 2, 3, and I get in between them and stop them. So then they just and this Les has got leather sole shoes on and he's kicking them. So anyway, he starts dragging them round the deck and takes them to the gangplank and then kicks them down the gangplank. So anyway, I went back drinking with them. And I'm like that, and they're all laughing. They think, the two fellas, they're laughing their heads off. It's great. So anyway, I had a few drinks. It goes back to my cabin. And anyway, when I woke up, I had a terrible hangover. And I realised what I'd done. So I just thought, I've had enough of this ship. It's just bad luck, So anyway, I packed my suitcase. I had loads of bottles of whiskey and ciggies from Belgium because it was cheap. So I thought, well, shall I leave? So anyway, I put them in my suitcase, gets off the ship, thought, I'm going home. So anyway, goes through the police. The policeman stops me, tells me, I told him the story because you're supposed to have a pass, to get off the ship. And I told him the story, told him about my wife. So anyway, he said, have a look in your suitcase. Anyway, I just opened it and he just looked at it and went, yeah, go. So I got out there, I was made up. I thought, wow, I just smuggled all this stuff, So anyway, I went home and then I started working. My mate worked on the site. He was a hod carrier with the bricklayers, so he got me a job. So then I left the sea because, all the violence, that wasn't the first violence I'd seen at sea. I'd seen quite a bit of it because seamen are crazy. So anyway...
What other crazy stuff had you seen, Jimmy?
It was just mad. The second ship I was on, we went to the west coast of South America, and that was a 4-month trip. And anyway, the pantry, I was a galley boy and a pantry boy. He was from Hull, and he was 19, and he was still a pantry boy. You were supposed to, you start at 16, and by 2 years you get your rating, But anyway, he was a nutter. So anyway, when we get back, we're in South America, and anyway, the bearings on the ship go, so they have to fly the bearings to America. So we're stuck like another 16 days, and the seamen, they don't like it. They're away from the family. They don't like long trips. So anyway, we're stuck. But that's another story. So anyway, they when we get back to Liverpool, there's no berth because we were delayed. So we had to anchor out opposite the Liver buildings with the ship. And we had to be there for 3 days anyway. They all started drinking. And anyway, this big deckhand called Whelan, me and the boy, we had the same cabin. Anyway, I woke up and he was beating him up, punching his in a thing because he'd hit his mate, this other fella. So anyway, he battered them, and then he had to call the police on the next morning, but the police couldn't do nothing because we were still at sea, basically. So it had to be left to the captain. That's just one incident. And then when we were going out there, we were taking whiskey to Bermuda and the Bahamas. We'd only been at sea 3 days, and the deckhands broke into the hold and robbed cases of whiskey. So you're only allowed your ration a day would be like 6 beers or a few tots of whiskey or whatever you wanted. Anyway, the captain and Andy, after about 3 days, they realised something was wrong. Everyone was drunk. So he goes down the hold and they find that they've robbed loads of this whiskey. So we had 3 bottles, me and the pantry boy. So we were like, that, what were you going to do, because people were just throwing the bottles away, So anyway, this kid, he said, he had them water containers for on the bulkheads, for keeping your water cool or whatever you want. Anyway, we put 2 bottles in 2 of them. Anyway, the captain come round searching and all that, but he didn't look at them. So we were made up after the search. And so that night we just got drunk again. Because when you're a seaman, that's all you basically do. But the seamen are just crazy. But anyway, besides that, so I started to work on the buildings and I loved it. And then my wife had a baby, and then over the few years we had another 2 children, and I loved it. But then what happened was I'd been offered green in Jamaica because on the trip back from South America we called into Jamaica. I was in Kingston in Trenchtown, and anyway the captain had told us not to go ashore, advised us not to because it was Independence Day for Jamaica. So anyway, we didn't listen, and me and the pantry boy, we went ashore. But when we were going ashore, there was this big deckhand, and he said, "Look, I'll take you under my wing." So you had to get a taxi in Trenchtown. It was only a short distance from the port to the bars in Trenchtown. But you couldn't walk because it was that dangerous. You had to get a taxi to where you wanted to go. So anyway, we get a taxi and we get out in Trenchtown, and there was this big bar, and it was like the Old West. It was like swing doors, and all that. And then there was steps going up, so we started walking up, and there was about 7 or 8 Jamaicans standing, and they just stood across the door to block our entry. So this big deckhand, he just goes like that, brushes them aside, and we go in the bar. So anyway, no one bothers us. So then we go to the next bar. I was sitting there, and this is in the evening, and anyway, this fella come in, and this Jamaican, must have been about 30. And anyway, he had this lovely floral, like, shirt on, and all that, and he had slacks, and the shirt was hanging over the waistband. So anyway, he comes in and he just says to the barman, he wants a bottle of whiskey. So anyway, the barman serves him. He gets the whiskey, and then he turns to us and he kisses the bottle like that, and he goes, "I have something better than this," and all that. So I went, "What's that?" And he said, "Green." I went, "Yeah," because I'd only ever heard about it. So the big deckhand jumps up and starts walking to the guy, and he's angry. So as he gets near him, the fella starts backing away. And when he gets by the door, he just puts his hand, lifts his shirt up, and he's got a gun. So the big deckhand just stopped, he froze. And the guy just disappeared out of the door. So anyway, but getting back now to when I first scored green, and I was odd carrying, I was 22. Anyway, I was in a pub on the Dock Road called the Alamos in Bootle.
Hope you're enjoying the podcast. As a word from my sponsor, NordVPN. As many of you know, I am inundated with links from hackers and cyber bandits trying to steal my channel. I've lost it twice, actually. But now with NordVPN, with just one click, I am safe. There are so many attacks out there that Nord protects you from, half of which I've never even heard of before. You got the man in the middle attack. You're at a cafe. You think you're using the free Wi-Fi. Boom! They steal your sensitive data. You've got phishing. You've got password attacks. You've got DDoS. Yes, I got one of them. They tried to shut down my live stream. We've got malware. We've got malvertising. We've got ransomware. And also, if you want to watch something overseas, my documentary of Sammy the Bull is coming out in January in America. Guess where my VPN will be set at? There's nothing worse than a VPN that slows you down, but NordVPN is the fastest VPN out there. You can get an exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 months extra here at my link /nordvpn.com/Atwood, ATT It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Link is in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. Again, it's /nordvpn.com/Atwood, ATT. Cheers.
And anyway, me and my mates, I only had short hair, but my mate, he had long hair. He'd become a hippie. So anyway, we were in the bar having a drink, and he was about 5 black seamen by the jukebox. So after a few pints, I just went over and said, have you got any of that green? And they looked shocked. And anyway, he went, oh, no, sorry. What happened? We were standing by the bar, and one of them comes walking up, and as he's standing next to me, holding a beer, I said, have you got any green? And he looked at me, and he went, no. And he just went back. So anyway, me and my mate just carried on drinking by the bar. So after the bar, it's been about 40 minutes, he comes back to the bar, and then he says to me, you want some green? I said, yeah. He said, you smoked it before? I said, yeah, I've smoked loads of it. Anyway, see, so he says, okay, meet me here tomorrow night. So I had a Bedford van and that. So anyway, we left. And then the next night I come back and it goes in the pub. It was a big ritual. They were dead frightened, cautious. And in the end, he comes out with me to the van. So he brings this big fella out, big black guy. And I didn't even have my mind to get rolled and anything in them days. So anyway, he goes over the van. He jumps in the back with the big fella and I get in the back. Anyway, he kneels down, pulls his shirt up, and he's got a big bundle of it's newspaper wrapped up, and it's quite big. So he opens it, and to me it just looked like grass. So anyway, I looked at it and I said, is that green? He went, I thought you smoked this. I said, no, it was different stuff. It was like a hard stuff. So anyway, I said, listen, just give me £7 worth, because he wanted like £28, which was a lot of money then. So I said, never like it, I'll come back tomorrow. Well, he was really, so anyway, he takes 2 handfuls out, wraps it up, and then, anyway, say it was in the night, so we returns home. I returns home with my mate. When I get there, my wife's there, and his girlfriend, Dickie's girlfriend, so he gets the stuff out on the table. My wife said, what's that? I said, I think it's green. She said, how much do you pay for that? I said, £7. She went, what? You must be crazy. So anyway, I'd seen him in a pub weeks before, funnily enough, these 2 lads, and they were making joints. So anyway, I knew what to do. So anyway, stick some skins, and anyway, puts a ciggy in, and then these were all little tiny green buds. So anyway, I broke them up as best I can, put it in, and they started smoking it. And the 4 of us sitting in the terraced house in the living room. So I go, after I had a few smokes, I went to me mate, do you want some? He said, I don't want none of that. So I said to my wife, do you want some? And she went, no, I don't want none of that. So I said to his girlfriend, Rose, do you want to go, Rose? And she said, yeah, all right. So the two of us started smoking. Well, after about half an hour, nothing's happening. I'm thinking I'm being robbed here, you know. Anyway, I said to Rose, shall I make another one? She said, yeah, all right. So anyway, made another, he started smoking it. Only had a few pulls on it. And then the next minute, I'm sitting in the chair. Next minute, like, these buzzers started in my toes and then started creeping up my legs. Then I gripped the armchair and I'm gripping, I'm thinking, what's going on here? And then the next minute it goes right up my spine and explodes in my head. And I went, wow, I thought, this is the best feeling I've ever had in my life. Everyone should do this. So anyway, next minute, my mate's girlfriend, I'm looking at her and I start hallucinating. And the next minute, her face turns and she looks like a monkey. So anyway, I start laughing and I'm on my knees and I'm like that. Oh! And my mate saying, look at here, stuff B. Look at here, you know, and I'm going, shut up, will you? It made me worse. Anyway, there's tears coming out. So I got back up on the chair and I thought, wow. And that was my introduction to it, you know. But it was a good introduction. So anyway, after that, I was been smoking about 2 years, and a friend of mine, he was from Preston, but he was living in London. So I went down to score off him, and he gave me an address in Katama, in the Rift Mountains in Morocco, of where they grow all the stuff and you buy it. So anyway, it was like £30 for a kilo. And back here, we could get, if we sold it in ounces and stuff like that, we could get like £240 return. So it was a lot of money. So anyway, then I meet my partner called Jimmy O'Byrne, tells him about it. After I got to know him a while, I told him. And anyway, we then started accumulating money to go over there. So the plan was that I go first and go with me wife, because my mate from Preston said, take your family. He said, there you'll get 14 years straight away if you get caught with any hash, you know. So anyway, we get some money together and we set off. We bought a Vauxhall Viva estate and we set off, and there was me, the other Jimmy, and my wife and the 3 kids. So we set off, we goes to Morocco. We had to leave the car because it was old in Tangier and hire a car. So anyway, that same night of us getting there, we drove up to the mountain. Well, my mate it said it was dangerous, you know. It was, you had to climb 10,000 feet into the mountains. So anyway, we drives up, it was a nightmare. Holes all over the road and everything. Lots of avalanches happen and stuff. So anyway, we gets to the farm, but it's really late at night by this time. It's about 3 in the morning by the time we get there. So anyway, and it was November and it was cold. So anyway, I went to what he said was the address, but it turned out it wasn't. But we parked the car up and fell asleep. And then it must have been about 6 in the morning. There was a knock on the window. So it was all steamed up inside. So I cleared the steam off, and there was this old Arab. He looked about 200. And he was looking through the window at me. So I nudged my mate and I said, Jimmy, there's a fella outside. So anyway, we get out the car and start talking to him. He doesn't speak any English, obviously. So anyway, we find out that he's got hash to sell, and it was like for £30 a kilo. So anyway, we goes in the old farmhouse. They were like poor, really poor. And anyway, we bartered with him. We took up 2 cases of whiskey. We got told to take them and barter, so we were bartered them. And then in the end, we get 20 kilo. So then because we had the high car, I had to get a bus down, and my partner was going to drive the 20 kilo that night.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Here's a word from our sponsor, Skylight. How easy is it to use?
Well, look, he's using it now.
Whether you're tech savvy or not, if a 1-year-old can use it.
Who's that?
It's beloved by millions. Millions of families have fallen in love with the Skylight frames.
Is that Mummy?
Sold across 34 countries with 675 million photos and videos shared. Wow.
And all you've got to do is download an app, the Skylight app, and you can upload all of your favourite photos to it. So as you can see, I've uploaded about 100 so far.
This holiday season, give the gift that keeps on giving memories, whether it's for grandparents who adore seeing the grandkids' latest antics, or a friend who loves capturing every moment. The Skylight frame is the perfect gift to bring joy and connection into any home. It's easy to use, effortless setup and instant sharing with no app or subscription required. And a quick 1-minute setup, Skylight is designed to be easy for all ages. Simply plug in the frame and you're ready to start sharing memories. As you can see, it's got an intuitive touchscreen display, interactive and engaging. The 10-inch color touchscreen allows for easy interaction, letting you pinch, crop and zoom photos directly on the frame, creating a personalized experience. Gift mode, the ultimate surprise. Preload your favorite photos before gifting the Skylight frame. When your loved one plugs in their new frame, they'll be welcomed with special memories ready for immediate enjoyment. It's better than social media. Skylight frame is a great private way to share photos without posting them to the world or having to print hard copies. Store thousands of photos. Skylight frame can hold up to 8,000 photos with 8 gigabytes of space. Satisfaction guaranteed. We're confident that you'll love Skylight. They offer free 120-day returns. For a limited time, get up £40 off your purchase of a Skylight frame when you go to uk.skylightframe.com/Sean, SHAUN. That's right. To get up to £40 off your Skylight frame, just go to uk.skylightframe.com/Sean. That's uk.skylightframe.com/Sean. Get up to £40 off a Skylight frame at uk.skylightframe.com. Sean. Link in the description box if you're watching this on YouTube. Cheers. Thanks for supporting our sponsor. Back to the podcast.
The following night, he was going to drive down. So anyway, I gets the bus down, gets back to Tangier, gets back to the hotel. And anyway, he arrives about 7 in the morning. There's a knock on the door, and when I go to the door, my mate Jimmy's standing there. He looks angry. So anyway, comes in, and he said to me, "Jimmy, I thought you said there was no police roadblock overnight, your mate said." He said, "I got pulled in Tet 1." And he was in a Renault, a little Renault car, you know. And anyway, he had the suitcase with the hash on the back seat. So as he comes down to this roadblock, and it's like real military, there's three gendarmes at the roadblock. So anyway, he stops, and he's got his passport because he was in the army, and he got kicked out the army. But anyway, on this photo, it's just like a shaven head, like us two. So anyway, the policeman stops him, shines the torch in the car, looking at him, gets the passport, looks at it, and then he looks at the suitcase, and he's looking at it. And my mate's thinking, this is it. I'm caught, you know. So the policeman just gave him his passport back and said, go. So it's like, what? So he's telling me the story, and I went, what? Unbelievable. So anyway, then it was a nightmare. We had to transfer the 20 kilo on the beach. Oh, it was people walking. I mean, anyway, we finally got the 20 kilo in the back part of the estate car. And anyway, does all that. And then we had to get the boat in the night. So as I say, you got 14 years straight away if you got caught. So it was a nightmare. So my mate stayed separate from us on the boat, and we gets the boat over 3.5 hours. It was a nightmare. And anyway, when we gets to Algeciras in Spain, when I got on the boat, right, there was only 16 cars. But in the summer, you've got 300. So I thought, this isn't good. So anyway, when we come off, it was raining. Anyway, I drove down onto the quay, and was driving round, and it was raining, and you could see the customs in front, and that. So anyway, we comes up, and the custom man looks in, sees us, and then he just scribbles something as they do on the screen. So I thought, well, I'm going to go through further customs. They were further behind. So anyway, I'm driving. The next minute, I was out the customs, and I was outside in the dock. And my wife went, are we through? And I said, I think so, yeah. So he drove down to the gate, and there was a policeman on the gate, and he come out, looked at the chalk mark, and just waved us through. Well, there was a bar right opposite, if you've been to Algeciras, right outside the gate. Anyway, me and my wife went there with the kids, and, we were having a drink and that, and something to eat. And then about half an hour later, my mate comes out the dock. And anyway, when he seen us, he couldn't believe it. He was in shock, so he come on, then we explained everything. And then we carried on up. And we got up 100 miles from Calais, and the front wheel fell off the car. The bearing went. So anyway, Jimmy had to carry on then, because we were running out of money, and he went back to England. And then he returned a couple of days later, and he had 2 fellas with him. Anyway, one of them, this John fella, I liked him. He was a bit of a friend of mine. But the other fella, this Walter, I just did not like the man. He was a sneak. He'd burgle people and all that. And anyway, I told my mates, I said, what have you brought him for? I said, I can't stand him. So anyway, he said I couldn't do nothing else. I couldn't get any more money from anywhere else. So I brought him in on the deal. So it would be 3 of us now instead of 2. So anyway, I had to accept that. But then this Walter, he'd come over in his car, and so we drove down the road a bit, and then we transferred the 20 kilo into his car, and then he went and he drove through Dover, and so we got away with it. So we had this 20 kilo worth a lot of money. So anyway, with it being November, you can't really go over there until like March or April, when there's a lot of people using the boats, So anyway, we had to wait. So we eventually sold the 20 kilo, and then we had enough for my mate to go back. So he went back, and he brought 40. And then on the way back, he took Walter over with him as well. And then on the way back, Walter, in the night, they're driving on these speed tablets. Jimmy's asleep in the car, and his wife's in the front seat, and the children in the back. It was in the state car. Anyway, he only falls asleep at the wheel, crashes into a big garage forefront, demolishes one of the petrol pumps and a big neon sign. And my mate's wife, Marina, so anyway, she had to be taken to hospital, but she was Dutch, so she could speak languages, so it was good in that sense. But she had concussion. So the next minute I get a call from my mate, we've crashed. So then I had to go down, I had to get another driver, I had to go down. It was a nightmare. We had to do transferring on the road. One time we were transferring it, and the army come past the big convoy, and they're all looking at us, and it took about 20 minutes for it to go past. So anyway, but it was mad. But anyway, we got that up, and then the lad who was supposed to take it through, this 40 kilo, into England, when we got to Calais, he backed out. So we were running short of money, so I thought, well, what am I going to do? And they're waiting on the other side for me. So I thought, well, I'll drive it myself. So I ended up driving the 40 into England. And anyway, that's how we started, we were like, we just did run after run. We did it for 4 years, we made a lot of money, and we had a lot of good times and that. But that's how it started off there, So
how did it expand from there?
We just carried on dealing. we were getting more customers as it goes along, because it was all new, but it was starting off, with the hippie thing.
Yeah.
And so it was all like moving. And yeah, so we just carried on. As I say, we did it for 4 years. We got away with it for 4 years,
What did you do with all the money?
We to tell the truth, we lost quite a bit along the way, with losing drivers and stuff like that, but we just lived it up. It's easy come, easy go, the money, isn't it?
Yeah.
With smuggling. So we just, as I say, carried on, and then we built up enough money, and we took 200 kilo to Holland, because the customers were onto us here. I got onto them with tailing me. So anyway, we took it to Holland. We had problems. My mate first sold 30 kilo to these Dutch guys he'd met, and it was all in counterfeit money, German money. And so we lost that. And anyway, we ended up, out of the 200, we ended up with 70. And then what had happened was, I didn't move the van. It was on a campsite, and the 200 kilo was in. And I sent a lad over to move it. And then when I went over a couple of days later, the van was gone. But my mate, Jimmy, had been arrested with 30 kilo of the stuff. And he was locked up, and he was in prison. And anyway, he started panicking because the van was in his name on the campsite. So this fella, this young guy, he started talking to him, and he worked like for the Dutch mafia. And anyway, he was in like for so many kilo being caught. So this group, these people, they even had their own lawyers company, because we ended up going there. And anyway, what the deal was, my mate said there was 120 kilos still in the van. And anyway, when they collected it, they turned around and said there was only 80, and they wanted half. So we couldn't do nothing else. So anyway, we ended up with 40 kilo, and we'd had money from the other stuff. And anyway, we ended up, I had to fly back to England, and I got this fella, it was his mother. Him and his mother, she was like really old, and she smoked pot. She started smoking it in Kenya years before, when her husband was working in construction out there. She seen the gardener smoking it and started smoking it, so she was a good ardent smoker. So anyway, she was going to take the 40 kilo back to England for us. So anyway, we set it up, and I went over and did all the work, and then she brought it back to England. So we ended up, we had that 40 kilo. Then my mate said, because I didn't pick the van up, and I should have, he said he wanted to stop our partnership. But we still remain good friends. We were like brothers. And anyway, he then went and did a run with this other lad. And it was oil, 5 kilo of oil. And the lad got caught coming into Spain. They had it in a petrol tank. Anyway, he got caught, and two of the lads who were working for us, they were waiting outside for him, and he told the police. Anyway, my two mates got arrested. They got 14 years each. And that's so. Anyway, then I had nothing else to do. Except I had to look for another partner. And then I found another partner a few months later. And then we resumed going to Morocco. And then we brought 50, 90, 110, another 80. So we were doing well and all that. And then what happened was crazy, because me and Jimmy were still good friends. And the fellow I was working with at the time, he just wanted to give up, before Christmas and start next year. Well, I thought, nah. So anyway, me and Jimmy set up the 200 kilo. So that's how we got caught with the 200 kilo. But
Where were you when you got caught?
where? Oh, in Wigan, yeah. We were in Wigan, yeah.
Can you describe the day you got caught? What happened?
Yeah, it's just like, well, we were everything had gone well. We got the stuff into England. The van was like, it cost us a lot of money to, get right for this compartment for smuggling. Anyway, yeah, so we were made up, and then foolishly, I was supposed to go up and get the stuff, and at the last minute, Jimmy said to me, "I'll come up with you," and I said, "Well, no, you don't do that." I said, "If something happens," I said, and he wouldn't have it. So the two of us went up there and we walked in on it. There was a fella in Wigan, he had his own garage and he used to repair cars, and he did a run to Morocco for us. So then we had him doing all the vehicles, and then he may have got caught and they've let the stuff go through or whatever, but they were onto us. And then when we turned up, they were waiting for us. So then they put us in Risley. We were in Risley, but then after a week, the magistrates give us bail, which was like the customs jumped up and said, "What? What, these men?" So, but the magistrates just give us it, but I had to produce a passport. Well, I had 3. And one of the lads that was working for us, he went and burnt, when he found out I was in Risley, he went and burnt the passport. So I had to produce another old passport. And anyway, I got out on that, but I knew I was going to get arrested. So 3 days later, I goes to the police station to sign on. I was signing on 3 days, three times a day. So anyway, that's how bad it was. Anyway, I went to the police station and they rearrested me, the customs. And then I was in Risley for 5 weeks. Everyone else was out, and there was about 8 people involved. And anyway, just before Christmas, the customs allowed me bail, and I got out.
What was your first day in Risley like?
Oh, horrible. Well, they were all committing suicide there, weren't they? In Risley, it was the worst prison in England for.
Describe what it was like going in.
Yeah, it was just, you just went in, and in them days, it was good in the sense that you could have your own meals brought in, and you could even have half a bottle of wine brought in, or a few bottles of beer. Wow. So I had my birthday in there, so I saved up 3 visits because we had money. My wife was coming every day visiting, So anyway...
How old were you at this point?
I was 26 or 27, yeah. And anyway, I saved up three. I used to say it yourselves, but I was fortunate this time. I saved up three half bottles of wine, and the kid that was in with me, he was just a criminal. And anyway, I gave him half a bottle. I said, "Yeah," and I had a full bottle. That was my birthday.
And what was it like were you in a cell? Or was it a dorm? What was it like?
It was just cells.
Did you have your own cell?
Just 2 of us to a cell, yeah.
Who was your cellmate?
Well, they were coming and going in the 5 weeks, you know what I mean? They were just one fella from Bootle, I knew him quite well. And he was in for robbing a bike, and he was on remand, so it's just like, but it was...
Was it slapping out back then?
Yeah, you had to slap out,
So describe for the young viewers what that means.
Well, when you get up in the morning, because you've got a pot to piss in, and do number 2, you have to get up, and then when you open the cell, you go out and you go down to the bathroom, and then you have to pour it all down the sink, and it stinks. It's horrible. So you do that every morning, But the food was good because you could get your own food.
So you're on remand at this point.
Yeah.
And, so far, Jim, you've described this hard-working stuff at sea, and then you get into this life of crime. How's your family? You said you had 3 kids and a wife.
Yeah.
How's your family adjusting to all of this new
Well,
venture?
he was still young, you see, Sean. My eldest girl was only 7, and then the other one 6, and then 3. So they were young. They were a bit oblivious, really, to it all.
And what about your wife? Was she worried, or was she okay with it?
She ended up, she was just, I left her quite a few £1,000, you know, to look after her and the family, but she was just drinking. We were always big drinkers, the two of us. And then she just carried on drinking. Then after about 6 months, my mother intervened and got her out of it, you know, for the kids' sakes. And then I did the 3.5 years and I come out, but I was only out a few months and we separated.
Did you go to trial?
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, that was in Manchester. Well, what happened was, after 6 months of being on bail, we were running out of money, so we started going back and doing runs. Right.
While you're on remand.
All right, on remand. we had other people working for us, obviously, right? So when we goes up to the magistrates, this it must have been about 6 months, you know, into the thing. The customs jumped up and went, Your Honour, we believe these men are still operating smuggling from Morocco. And then the judge just went, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't take your bail away, you know. So our barrister jumped up and went, Your Honour, it's just hearsay. So they had to let us out, but they were on to us. So while I was on bail, I did another 3 runs. Just crazy. But we were mad. We were just mad. We just didn't care, you know.
And then the trial, what was that like?
Oh, the trial. It was in Manchester Crown Court. And anyway, because I'd been caught on 4 counts, which my first partner, Jimmy, he wasn't involved. So it was just me on them charges. So they gave, what was it? They gave us the 6 years each. And then, we were just sent to Walton jail. And then we were there 4 months. And then he sent us to Hull prison, which was a long-term prison. And so you had lots of rights, you know, above the allotted ones. So, yeah, I just started studying and reading and yeah. So I got through the 3.5 years and that.
Was this your first time in prison, Jimmy?
No, the first time was when I'd left the scene and was working. And this one, I'd been caught, you know, for the TV licence. So anyway, I'd been fined £15 or something, and it was quite a bit of money then, like it is now when you find. Anyway, it ended up, if you didn't pay the £5, you got 17 days in Walton prison, right? So I couldn't pay it because I'd come out of work. And anyway, it was a lovely sunny afternoon, and me and my wife went for a walk with the children up to these woods near our house. And as I was walking on the road, a police car pulls up with 2 young policemen in it and asked me my name. I said that, and he said, we've got a warrant here for your arrest, and do you know anyone who'll pay it? So anyway, I said, I don't. I said, maybe my mother. Well, my mother had fell out with me 6 months earlier because I'd started smoking green. So anyway, I rang her up from the police station, and she refused to pay it. And so I ended up, the only one who would pay at the time was another mate of mine, but he didn't get paid till Wednesday. And anyway, so they took me up and they put me in Walton. Well, I've got shoulder length hair because of my hippie. Anyway, gets into the reception, Walton reception. Well, as soon as they see me hair, I mean, everyone in the prison had short hair. So anyway, as soon as they see me, he said, you'll have to have your hair cut. I said, listen, mate, I'm in for the fine here. I said, it's getting paid in the morning and I'll be out, so you're not cutting my hair. So anyway, they took me to this PO. Well, by this time, it was like 9 o'clock at night. So anyway, this PO, I told him the story. He said, what do you do for a living? And I told him, I've got the children, I'm working, this and that, and they shouldn't be in here for this fine. So anyway, he let me go through. So we had the bath, and then they took us up to the main wing. So it's like a cartwheel where all the cells come off. It's just like a cartwheel. And in the centre, all the POs, principal officers, they all assemble there. Well, when I got there was about 7 or 8 of them on it. So as soon as they see me, one of them come straight over and said to the screw, what's he doing here with long hair? So the screw said, nothing to do with me. The PO sent him down here. So he said, get him back and get his hair cut. So anyway, I goes back, takes me back up to the wing, and there's another lad there, right? And his ears are a little bit by his ears, and so they want his hair cutting. So the two of us are sitting there. So anyway, there's the prison barber, he's cutting hair people's hair. There was still a few prisoners there. So I get taken into the principal offices. He was a little fella, only about this big, Scotch fella, right angry head. So I get taken into there, and I said, listen, you're not cutting my hair. And he said to me, he jumped up and he went, you don't get your hair cut. He said, we'll hold you down and cut your hair. And I said, well, if you do that, I said, I'm going straight to the Liverpool Echo. I'm going to blow this place up, to them, what it's like in here. Anyway, I comes out. He says, leave. So I goes out. So when I was sitting down by the barber went, don't let him talk to you like that, lad. And me, he said, get in there and tell him. So me, I took the bait, fell for the incline and sinker. So I marches back in the office. And he's sitting down, so I go straight up to the desk. I said, I'm telling you what. I said, you can do what you want to me. You're not cutting my hair. He jumped up. There was steam coming out of his ears. He said, get out of my office. So anyway, I got escorted out. So I'm sitting there. And anyway, I'm thinking, they're going to roll me down here and all that. So anyway, next minute, they took me back to the wing. So when I got to the centre, there was no POs there. They'd all gone for the night. So they took me up to this cell. And I was with 2 other fellas in there. 2 old fellas. So anyway, come the morning, I goes down for me breakfast. And you can imagine there's like 1,300 prisoners in the place. So I goes down, and I was on the 2nd floor, so as I'm walking down, you get all the wolf whistles, doing wolf whistles, because everyone's got short hair. So anyway, when it gets down to get the food, they're coming past me and touching me on the backside and all that, and blowing me kisses. And I thought, wow, what am I doing in here? This is insane. So anyway, I goes back up, and then I was in there 3 days, and then my mate paid the fine. And he got me out, but it was a total nightmare. And that was my first time in prison.
And was the big arrest the second time in prison?
Well, yeah, I'd only ever been done for that TV license,
Did you see any violence in prison?
Yeah, from time to time I did. Yeah, it was.
Which prison stint was that?
Well, you're more confined in Walton prison, than the open prison. But then in the open prison, you got your exercises, and people are doing like 20, 30 years and all that. And it's just mad. I've seen some violence, yeah. Just prisons attacking each other, and then the screws are onto them basically straight away,
What was it over that they were attacking each other, do you know?
Mm-hmm. Could be anything, tobacco, money, debt, whatever, but even just, I don't know, it's just like mad.
Did you see any weapons used in prison?
No, I never ever seen any weapons. But when I was in Hull, they had a riot. I was only there 7 months. They had do you remember the whole riot?
What year was that?
That was, I think, 76, 77.
What led up to the riot?
What happened was, say this was a long-term prison and you could have your own T-shirts, you could have like your pants cut into like jeans. It was like they'd give you an overall and you could get them cut and just wear them like as pants and all that. So we had all these privileges, and anyway, there was 27 IRA in there, and they used to walk around on the big exercise yard. They all walk around together. They were at war. They said they were at war, so they wouldn't even speak to us. So anyway, what happened was, this one night, this lad, he was in the kitchen, where I was waiting at the kitchen at the time. He got put in the block, solitary, and then someone said he'd been beaten up. So he sat down on the centre of the prisoners and he wanted to see him. Anyway, this new governor started, Ford, his name was, and he was just a rookie, really, and he shouldn't have been put in this long-term prison. So then he started taking that, what did he call them? Not liberty, started taking things off us, like you couldn't have coloured T-shirts, they had to all be white. And so anyway, when they're sitting down on the centre, they want him brought in, to talk to them. So he doesn't. He sends the assistant governor in. Well, anyway, they're not having it. There must be about 50 people on the centre. And we were on A wing there. It was like the top security wing. It had cameras. There was only 30 prisoners on it. Because of our crime, we were on that. Anyway, we were standing by the gate, by the centre. And anyway, a mate of mine, he come down, he was on our wing, and he said to the screw, because the canteen was on the centre, he said, just want to get through, can you let me through? Boss, I want to just go to the shop. So this young screw foolishly opens the gate. Next minute, all the prisoners on the centre rushed on to this A wing, and they just rushed up and they just wrecked it. Ripping doors off, everything. And on A wing, it was the office. So they had all the files in there. So when they broke into that, started looking through, and they were finding out all the grasses, which they didn't know about. You know what I mean? So they started going out, getting them, beating them up. And then we were in there 4 days. It was surrounded by the army, the police, all the helicopters. And we were watching it in there on televisions, watching all this, So, but me and my partner, Jimmy, we wouldn't surrender because people were getting out and surrendering. But we wouldn't surrender because we knew as soon as you went out, they're going to say, what's going on in there? So we didn't want that. So we stayed until we surrendered. And then they sent me, they just brought coaches to the prison and they sent prisoners, like 30 to that prison. They just distributed them all around the country. Anyway, they sent me to Dartmouth. Oh, bad prison that. Anyway, I was in there for 8 months, and then they sent me back to Hull after they'd repaired it. At the time, it cost them £1.5 million to repair the prison.
Jimmy, going back to the 4 days of the riots,
yeah,
what was it like, those conditions? Like, did they turn the power off? Did they stop feeding you guys? How did you fend for yourself?
You just, well, we couldn't get into the kitchens, and we couldn't get into any stores, so we just basically went without food for 4 days, And
could you sleep, or would you just have to be vigilant all the time?
Well, no, we could sleep. I mean, the other prisoners, well, what happened with the 27 IRA, as soon as the riot happened, they went straight to the front of the prison. And they climbed up, and it was an old prison hall. It was like a fortress. They climbed up on the roof. So outside the prison, you'd have like a thing, don't you? Where the cars can drive round. And anyway, they sent a Saracen car in with the soldiers because there was 12 screws. When the riot took off, there was 12 screws in the gym. So they got locked in the gym. They were trapped in the gym. So the soldiers were trying to get in to get them out, right? So, but the IRA were throwing down, big coping stones on this Saracen car. So they couldn't get out of it. And so they had to retreat. But it was just mad. But it was frightening because every so often someone would make an alarm, they're coming in now. And then you're in there with other prisoners who've been in riots and they're saying, oh, they come in heavy-handed and they just batter you, So you couldn't get a good night's sleep in a sense. But anyway, the 4 days, we surrendered, we got out.
What happened to the snitches?
Oh, they just got beat up. And then when I got sent back after 8 months, it was total shutdown. It was like prison was shut down. You got no extras and nothing. And we were shut down basically for 3 months. And then he started giving us our privileges back.
What was the prison you went to in the meantime?
That was Dartmoor.
What was Dartmoor like?
Oh,
is that where the fog comes into the cells?
Yeah. One night, it was as in the winter. It was in the night. It had rained in the day. Then it had snowed. And then when I woke up, there was this mist. And I was in a single cell. There's this mist on the floor. It was about like 2 foot high. It was just floating. It was just mad. Oh, that's a mad... And the screws, it's like Manchester. They just... and they get away with it. So it was just a horrible prison.
So, what was the conditions like in Dartmoor other than the mist? Was it?
Oh, bad. Food wasn't good. All that carry on.
And did you see any brutality there?
No, nothing at all.
Was Jimmy with you?
No, he went to Winchester prison. They sent him on a coach, and he was there, and it was totally different. He said it was a good prison as it goes.
So, did you get along with everybody? It sounds like you get along with everybody everywhere you go.
Well, yeah, because I'm just easy going, and I don't look for trouble and all that, and so long as people treat me okay, and I'm all right.
But sometimes it doesn't matter how nice you are to people. There's always some fool who's going to test you or do something.
Oh,
Did anyone try anything like that with you?
Yeah. Only one fella named Billy, and he's a bright bully, big, stocky fella. And he started like giving me trouble.
What did he say?
He just like, he didn't like me, and and anyway, I had mates in there, some good friends from Liverpool, and they were like bouncers on clubs and all this, and so I told them, and then they just warned them off. You know what I mean? I did have good friends in there. I won't name them. They're well known in Liverpool.
So, as you're getting near the end of that sentence, then, are you planning on going on the straight and narrow or right back to it?
I was only out 3 months, and I started again.
And how did you pick it back up?
Well, these people, I know, and they're just criminals. So they said, would I, go over for them? And but what happened was, I went over, I did the deal, and the fella got caught in Spain.
So slow it down a bit then. Yeah. So you went over. What deal had been arranged?
40 kilos. I was going over. I put 40 kilo in the car. And anyway, the lad got caught. So after that, I thought, nah.
How did he get caught?
He just, when he was going into Algeciras, going through the customs, they caught him. And after that, I thought, nah, I've had enough. I thought, because I believe in karma. I did believe in karma then, So I thought, nah, I've had enough. And then I think maybe that's why I got the time in South Africa, because of that lad getting locked up.
All right, so you believe in karma, and then you said you've had enough. So what did you do to make money after that?
Well, I'd say I started smuggling into South Africa. I was flying the suitcases, 15 kilos, sent to Miri, you know, it was good money.
What years was that?
That was 1980, 81. And
Why South Africa?
well, we got a contact there. And in Johannesburg Airport, there's no customs. You walk up, it must be the only drug-related country in the world that doesn't have customs. They might have them in the background, like, but what you do is, don't let you know this, but you go up with your suitcases and you've got the air hostesses, and there's a sign behind them saying they can ask to look in your bags. So we were going through easy. You know what I mean? Because you're just like English tourists. And so I got away with it for 9 months, and then he caught me.
How did you distribute it once you got in?
Easy. We know a lot of people, you know, so it was easy to distribute.
You just sold it off bulk?
Well, these people I was doing it for, they had like big contacts, you know, and it was sent to media, so they could sell it slowly because of the quality, obviously, you know.
And you did that for 9 months?
Yeah.
Have you got any scrapes or funny stories during those 9 months?
Not really. We just stayed in Durban. We didn't go. Me and my girlfriend at the time. Yeah, we just stayed in Durban. And then when they caught me, fortunately, I should have had 15, but things went wrong and I only had 5 kilo. So anyway, they give me the 5 years.
How did they catch you?
Well, one of the people I'd been dealing with, they were Indians, these people, and they blew me up. Yeah, they blew me up. And anyway, they followed me. I was getting the train then to Johannesburg. The drug squad followed me. And funny enough, the taxi driver, he was taking us, a young fella, he said to me, the drug squad's been tailing us, you know. So I knew straight away they were onto us. And anyway, they arrested me and my girlfriend. They locked her up in the police headquarters.
Did they arrest you? Where were you?
We were just pulling up outside the station in Durban that's when they arrested us. So anyway, my girlfriend ended up for a month. She was in there for a month, and they were trying to involve her in it. And so I just wrote a letter to the judge and said, listen, she knows nothing about it whatsoever. It's all on my account, this. And anyway, they released her.
How had you met your girlfriend?
Well, funny enough, I'd been in 2 relationships. One was a marriage, and anyway, I finished the second relationship, and I was living in a flat in Bootle. And anyway, I started drinking in these girls' company. But this one girl, she was like 17 years younger than me. So I thought, no, never. I was only like 47 or something like that. I thought, she's too young for me. She wouldn't even consider me. But anyway, after 6 months of drinking in a company, her best mate said to me, I think my mates fell for you, you know. And I just went, F off. I was shocked. So then I started going out with her, but we've been together now 37 years.
Could she communicate with you when you were both arrested?
No. But it was mad because it was in the police headquarters, like 13 stories high. They used to throw the black ANC out. It was famous. They used to throw them out the window.
What?
Oh, yeah.
You were getting thrown out of windows?
Oh, yeah.
From high up?
Yeah.
And just dead?
Dead. Yeah.
Didn't that intimidate you a bit, that you're in with people dying?
Well, what happened, it was that strange because they had me and my girlfriend, this is in the morning, and she's in the next office to me, right? So I'm his name was Schwartz. What's his name? Yeah, this policeman Schwartz. Oh no, Groveler. You know, we had a goalie, didn't we? Groveler.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, his name is Groveler. Anyway, we were just sitting there, and he was saying, he asked me where to get the stuff, and I said, no, I can't remember, you know, and all this, and shoving off. Anyway, I'm sitting like this, and he's standing here, right? and a fly came, buzzing, right? And it's coming this way, like this, right? And he went, but meaning to frighten me, that he's going to hit me. But I didn't move. I just sat there like that. I was waiting for him to hit me. And then the next minute, they'd taken my girlfriend out, and she was walking past the door, and the door, to the office is open. So as she walked past, I just went to her, Colette, I'm sorry about this. I know you didn't know nothing about it and all that. And they fuming. Anyway, they put her in the police headquarters. The only bad thing that happened, you buy the green off the cleaners in there. This is in the police headquarters. And she bought some Durban poison, smoked it and had a whitey. Never smoked since. You know what I mean? And she smoked with me for years, a few years.
What was your cell like there? Was it a cell?
Well, first they put me in this dungeon at first, trying to break me,
Describe the dungeon.
Oh, it was just like a pit. And, it was only cold water. You couldn't, if you want to wash, you have washing cold water. It was just horrible. The food was horrible. And they had me there a week.
What was the food?
Oh, it's just rubbish. Really, you know what I mean? Yeah, I can't even think of it. It's just, food was horrible. Yeah, so they kept me there a week. And then they took me, and a week there, and then they took me for trial. Oh no, it was a month later when they took me for trial, yeah. But anyway, they just were trying to break me, but they didn't break me. And that, so...
when you say they were trying to break you, what method?
Well, just like, you're getting nothing. Wasn't even get exercise, nothing. You got nothing. It was just like a dungeon, the cell.
And what was the prison population? Was it mostly black out there?
It was all separate at the time.
So the blacks and the whites were separated in the prison?
Yeah. But where I was in Durban 4 months, and then he sent me to a place called Kroonstad, Crown Town it is. And it's like a big training college for screws, but there it's all military. When you're in the prison, they're all military. It's not like a screw, but they are. But anyway, yeah, so it's all military run. And when I got to this place, there was 550 English prisoners in a separate prison. And just down the road, a mile down the road, was a black camp with 2,000 blacks in it, a lot of ANC. And their food was better than ours because of the ANC. I mean, our food, it was good, pretty good. It's like it run on English standards because we built all the prisons out there,
Was Mandela in prison around this
He was
time?
there. He got out on the 17th of February when I was still in prison.
Did he?
Yeah.
So that was a big thing, wasn't it, back then?
Yeah, it was. What a man.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, man.
And the prison population that you were with then, did you all get along, or was there any...
Well, at first, you see, but because it's inbred in them. They don't like English because of the Boer War. So it's just bred into them, and they don't like English. So when I got there to that main prison, which I was in there like for 2 years, when I got there, I could tell, prisons didn't like me. So anyway, like most prisons, the food's rubbish, medical's rubbish, getting your post and all rubbish. So it was like this in this prison. So fortunately, the British consulate, you had to come every 3 months to see me. So anyway, I thought, well, shall I make complaints about all this in here? And they'll either come down on me or leave me alone. So anyway, when the British consulate come, she said, how are you doing? And, anything concerned about? And so I just give her this folder. And so then she had to go and see the governor, right? And about these complaints. So they started, for a month, they changed the food and the medical, it was all right, no, listen, you post. And they used to go back to normal for 2 months. And this is what they used to do. But because I stuck up for the prisoners, they love me.
Oh, you got all those conditions improved for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so everyone liked me then.
That's good.
There was only one fella. He was around about my age. Well, no, he was about 35, I think, and he was bastard. And we was in bungalows there, and he used to run this bungalow, and anyone new come in, and they used to rob anything they had, you know, they were bastards. And anyway, he started picking on me. He was on the building crew with me. And anyway, he's saying, threatening me and stuff. So I just said to him one afternoon, I said, see that piece of wood there? Big 4x4. I said to him, you ever go near me? I said, turn your back on me and I'll smash your head in. And he stayed away from me. He stayed away, yeah, he stayed away. And I didn't have no bother of anyone. And the blacks used to bring us the green.
Was there a lot of it?
Well, it wasn't flooded or anything, but there was a supply. I mean, I basically smoked for the 27 months. I smoked nearly every day. Because we were in bungalows, you see, and there was 150 prisoners on the building group because it was a college. So it had like big Olympic-sized swimming pools, so that's it, all this big upkeep. So when I got there, the prison said to me, try and get out on the building group. So I thought when I went in and seen before the board, they said, what did you do? And I said, I had my own roofing business for 4 years. I was always in the buildings. So then they put me on the building group.
What did you do?
I was just working with the bricklayers, and they taught me bricklaying. And the crazy thing is, Sean, when I was in Hull, I applied. Now, basically, I was the first time in prison. I applied for the bricklaying course. So they knocked me back, the Home Office.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll have one over down there. So I put in for the welding course. Thought, not going to give a smuggler a welding course. So they knocked me back. But then it took me to go to South Africa, and I started learning bricklaying, and that's where I learned bricklaying. And I still do it to this day occasionally, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So Jimmy, up to this point of your story then, it sounds like you've got this thing for the green, personal use. Had you ever been introduced to the white or the brown?
Yeah. Well, I'd only been smoking pot for about 3 years. And anyway, this fella, Billy McGregor, he was from Fife. And anyway, he used to go around the country. He knew people all over the country he could sell green to and other stuff. Anyway, this one night, he just turned up at my house in the night, and anyway, he'd been to some speed freaks in Chorley, and he'd robbed the chemist. And anyway, he produced this small glass vial, and it was British pharmaceutical heroin, pure white,
Yeah.
the cleanest thing. Anyway, he said to me he paid £20 for it, which is a bit of money, like. So he said to me, do you want to go off with me? So I said, well, have you tried it, Billy? He said, no, I've never tried it. And I'd only ever heard about it. So I said, well, I'm not going in on the deal unless I know what it's like. So anyway, he decides there's me and my wife and Billy. And so he puts 3 little lines out. So anyway, we snort them, sitting there for about 20 minutes. Can't feel a great thing, anything really. So we take another line each. And then that's when it hit me. And anyway, I was just sitting in the chair. Next minute, my right eye closed and my left ear went deaf. And then my left eye closed and my other ear went deaf. So I was sitting there, it was deaf, blind. I started panicking. And anyway, I'm holding onto the chair. Next minute, it come on me. And I went, wow. Just blew you away. So the 3 of us were just out, just in the world of our own. And then the next day we tried a bit. And then anyway, he took it to London. He knew big people in London. And anyway, he took it to this girl called Cynthia. She had a big Bentley and everything. She used to deal to the big stars. She was big gangsters giving her 100 weights, of black and all this. So anyway, he takes it down to her. So he shows it to her. So she said, well, I've got a friend. She said, I don't deal in this stuff. And she didn't. She said, but I've got a good friend there and he really needs it at the moment. She said, if it's any good, I'll take it. And then she phones up this girlfriend of hers. And anyway, she come round to test it. So she comes round, she's in the big apartment, and then she gets the syringe out and all this, and goes to the kitchen, kettle of boiling water, goes in the bathroom. Anyway, she come out about 10 minutes later, Billy said, and she was off her head. And she said to Cynthia, I nearly overdosed on that. Right, so anyway, they had to go out. So Cynthia said to my mate Billy, listen, I'm expecting a call off this guy called Eric, but tell him I'll be back home in half an hour. So anyway, he just left him in the apartment and he's waiting and that, and then the phone call goes and this fella, Eric, talking to him. So he gives the message, you know. Anyway, Cynthia comes back with the girl. And anyway, she pays Billy 90 quid. Well, it was a big profit, you know. So anyway, he pays the 90 quid. And Billy left, came back to Liverpool. Anyway, he goes down a couple of weeks later to see her. And Cynthia said, oh, the guy come round and he bought a waiting half of Afghani. And, what else was it? Yeah, a waiting half Afghani. And anyway, he takes the heroin, but he didn't want to drive with it. So he said to Cynthia, will you carry it? So anyway, they got to this car, brand new red Ferrari. Must have been like £10,000 at the time. And the three of them get in the car and he's driving and the gear stick's jamming and he's cursing. He said, I paid all this money for this and look, it's jamming, you know. But anyway, they took him to where he wanted to go. And that, but yeah, that was my first thing with the heroin. And then when I was on bail for the year for the other stuff, I started shooting up every night Chinese granule. Oh. Well, Chinese granule is like the next cleanest thing, basically, to British pharmaceutical. So every night at 8:30, children in bed, we take it. My wife never ever mainlined it. She used to just skim pop, you know, so it comes on gradually. But I was into the mainlining. So yeah, basically every night I would, you know, and it was amazing. It just put me, as soon as you took it, you were in dreamland. You didn't have a care in the world. You didn't bother, you know.
It wasn't getting off that difficult though.
Well, I had to sort of reduce myself, you know, before I knew I was going to jail, you see. So about a month before, I started, instead of taking it every night, I started taking it every other night. And then after a week or so, I started taking every 3 nights. So I weaned myself up, but I had to do 8 days cold turkey. That was hell. That was hell. And then when I got into jail, obviously, I mean, I never ever touched it since.
Well, good for you, because it can lead to problems for people.
Well, I had a big problem and it took it away, you know, for that time.
Yeah.
So that was okay. And then, yeah, I had no need for it when I come out.
So during the incarceration in South Africa then, what was it like as you got towards the end of that sentence?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, say it was like semi-open prison. Yeah, so yeah, it was okay. And
was there any riots out there?
No, but when they deported me, they sent me to Pretoria, the big police headquarters there. Anyway, yeah, I think that was on the 9th floor. So when I went up, you had to wait where there was like a space, and there was all the bars around this area, you know, where you went in and you're standing there. Anyway, I was waiting, looking through, and there was this big fella. It must have been about 6'6". Big man. So as they let me through the one gate and taking me into the main prison thing, he stops me and he said to me, he was Greek, this guy. He said to me, you don't want to go down that end of the prison. He said, I've got a cell here. He said, it's for 8 people and I'm the only one in it. He said, so advise you really come in here, you know. So when I goes in, fella's got like a stereo system. He's just bought they'd only just come out, he just bought a phone from Harrods, you know, where you could, you know, watch things on. It was all like crazy. And anyway, he had all food, and so I was in there like for 8 days with him, and it was George Michael's uncle.
What?
George Michael's uncle. He was in for fraud. He had 2 businesses going, and he was shoring one up by the other. So he was get charged with fraud.
Wow.
And it was him. And he said to me how he made all his money. He was a mercenary in Africa.
Wow.
And he, you know, Angola, all that. He was a mercenary, yeah. That's how he made all his money. He said to me, he said, I've seen things you wouldn't even want to hear. You know what he did to the black people?
Did he tell you any stories? He
wouldn't go into detail, you know. But he got me a bottle of vodka in there and everything. He had all the police in there. Had them all paid off.
So you were in with him for 8 days?
8 days, yeah.
Where'd you go next?
They deported me.
What was deportation like?
Great. Just to get out the country.
But can you describe like the transportation of you? How do they do it? Do they handcuff you and have marshals with you, or? No,
not then, because I was going home. The fella who come to take me, he didn't have handcuffs. But when they transported me from that Kroonstad to Pretoria, we were taken on a big wagon, you know, and they had like guard on the back, a rifle, guard on the front. You're all manacled up, all that, you know. And then what happened was that bully fella, he was giving me trouble. As we're going around dropping prisoners off and picking prisoners up, you know, from the prison. Anyway, just before we got to Pretoria, he come on the bus. And I was at the end, and he seen me, and his face dropped. And I just smiled at him. And some of the prisoners, he was well known, said to him, what's happened to you? He said, I've just got 6 years. I thought, yeah. That's what you get. You're karma with me.
It's always the way, isn't it? You can't hide in the system. It's just, people just go round and round and round, don't they?
Yeah.
How did it feel to be liberated?
Oh, fantastic. It's great, yeah.
What did you do when you got back?
Well, when I got on the plane, because I hadn't had the drink, I just said to the air hostess, I haven't had the drink for 2.5 years. Didn't say why. And so she just kept supplying me with beer. But I couldn't get drunk because it was that high with adrenaline, you know, with going home. I drank bottle after bottle and it just wasn't having an effect. And she just kept giving me them.
So were you falling over when you got off the plane?
No. I flew off the plane.
What year was it?
That was, I got jailed in 87.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just 87, yeah, just about 90.
So you got back, and did anyone meet you at the airport?
Yeah, my girlfriend at the time, she came down with that mate of mine, Dickie, you know, the one would never smoke. Mm-hmm. And he is a lunatic driver. He's dead now, but he's a lunatic. And so he'd give us this ride home. It was a nightmare. But anyway, we got home. But it's just...
Was that the first time you'd seen your girlfriend, or did she come out and visit you in the prison?
No, I didn't. That was one good thing about it, no visits. Because I found with visits, it just messes your head up.
So you hadn't seen her in 4 years?
No, 2.5.
What was that like?
Well, we just wrote to each other and, you know, and then obviously when we came home, we planned then to have children, so we've got 3 children, you know, but the youngest is 28, like, so.
Yeah.
But I've got 8 children. Like,
You got 8?
yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
I got about 12 grandchildren
Good
and
on you, man.
two great grandchildren.
Good on you.
Big family. Well, I was an only child, you see,
Yeah.
as you see in the book. I was the only child, and it's not nice. It's not nice to be brought up as an only child. Besides getting ruined, it's just it's not good for you.
So you get back, you family man, and then are you staying on the straight and narrow this time?
Yeah, I'm 78 now.
But this was what, in the 90s? Was it your plan back then to stay on the straight and narrow?
Well, I'd say, after that, I'd said to myself, I've had enough. I mean, the main thing is about this part is because, this propaganda they put out, the government about it and all this, it's just wrong. And you've got places like Germany now, which is legalised, and you can have a few ounces, you can grow 3 plants. Around the world, loads, but here in England, too much class system. And the oldest down, they can have all them, the stuff they want, because they got money. Little trips to Brighton in the 40s, they'd get on the heroin, the wives, and all this. This was going on. And so my concern is, and I wrote the book, also for the money, hopefully, but the point is, I believe that there's basically nothing wrong with it. It's no good for young people. It's not good for the brain. It's not good for schizophrenics or psychotics. They shouldn't. And there should be more information put out by the government, and it should be decriminalised, because people are going to prison now, losing jobs and all that, just because they smoke a bit of green. It's wrong.
And these judges who put them in prison are drinking alcohol, popping pills, and some of them are doing horrendous things to kids. Yeah. It's like, what gives them the right to tell you as an adult what you can and cannot do?
Exactly. Well, look at me, Sean. I mean, for my age, I'm in very good health.
Yeah.
And when I was in Walton jail, this young screw came to me, and he had a cutting out of The Guardian. And it was, he gives me it, and I'm reading it. And the only woman, you might know this, the only woman in England, or the British Isles, to be given a licence for growing green was the Queen's cousin in Balmoral, a massive estate. So she got a licence. So she was growing it in the greenhouses. She was doing a cannabis plant and a tomato plant in sequence. She found the caterpillars on the tomato plants crystallised in 3 months, on the green 9 months. So it obviously prolongs your life. So I'm made up. I'm glad I'm still here, but I feel good for my age.
Throughout all this, have you had any near-death experiences?
Yeah, that was what happened. Was this friend of mine, Jeff? We went up to Southport one night to score, but my dealers weren't in. They'd gone to London. So anyway, we decided then just to go and have a few pints in Southport. It was in the evening. So anyway, we were sitting in the pub, and then this fella came in. Must have been like we were only like in our mid-20s. This guy must have been about 40. Anyway, he starts talking to us. Then asks us to buy him a drink, so we buy him a drink. And we're hippies, me and my mates. So anyway, he then starts talking about he's just got out of a mental hospital. And they've given some tablets that keep him awake all night. So we said, well, what's that? And so he described them. So he described them, and what it was the speed, the purple hearts.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he said he had 40 of them. So I said, do you want to sell them? So he said, yeah, okay. So he lived in Woodvale, the council estate up by the aerodrome, by Southport. He lived on there. So anyway, we take him round to the house, and we're sitting outside waiting for him, and he's about 15 minutes. So in the end, I said to my mate, let's just get off. So he's just going to leave, and he comes out the door, and then he comes over to the van and gets in the van, and he's got this little container with these 40 purple hearts in. So anyway, we paid him. It wasn't a great deal of money. We paid him, but his excuse was, he said, I was arguing with the wife when I went in, so that's why it was so long. So anyway, as we drove off, I said to my mate, don't like him, it's something about him. And he said, I feel that way. So anyway, we drove then the short distance to the dual carriageway, you know, by the aerodrome. So it's just twilight, it was just going dark. So anyway, drives onto the dual carriageway. Next minute I looked, and there's this car coming down with the lights blaring. And I said to me, there's a car coming down here fast. So anyway, I said, yeah. I give him 20. I said, split them tablets. So he took 20. And I took 20. Next minute, there's a car. It wasn't even a police car, just an ordinary car, and 2 policemen in it, but they looked like ones, you know, further up, you know, not just the ordinary ones. So anyway, they pull in front of the van, jump out, they run up. So we lock the doors. So they're banging on the doors, and we're just looking at them. So anyway, just swearing, screaming. So anyway, I opened the door, Bedford van. So drags me out, drags me onto the grass verge, and the other busies grabbed me mate onto the verge. So before they come in the van, I just took the 20, just swallowed the 20. So I'd only ever took like 2 or 3, and they kept you up all night. So, and I thought my mate did. But anyway, the police have got us out, and they say it's going dark. So he got him up against the van, spread-eagled. But I seen him, when he put his hands up like that, he threw the 20 onto the grass verge. But anyway, this busy says to me, get your hands up and we're going to search. I said, I want a witness. I said, you're not searching me without stopping the witness. He said, we think you've got drugs. He said, I ain't got no drugs, nothing. So he went, just do as you're told, and slapped me. So I thought, well, I've got none. So I put my hands up on the van. So he searches me and then stops, and then he goes to get in the van, and I said, listen, it was bad enough you stopping me, the van and that. I said, you know, you're out of order. I said, you're not getting in there without a witness. He just turned around and told me to F off. So he goes in, and we'd been cutting a tree, and there was a big log in the back of the van. Anyway, this speed just starts working. And the next minute, I seen a car approaching, just entered the dual carriageway. So I runs out, because he's in the van. So I run out in the middle of the road, and I've got my hands up, and I'm screaming, stop! So this fella in a big sunbeam rapier comes, stops right in front of me, puts his head down and said, what the F are you doing? I'm screaming, get out the car, get out the car. Next minute, another car comes onto the dual carriageway, and he speeds up, like most drivers do. So he speeds up, right? And he's coming hurtling down. So the other busy, who's searching my mate, runs round and runs over to me and grabs me, and I'm shouting to the fella, get out the car. Next minute, the car's approaching dead fast. The guy was drunk. Right, this is about 9:30, and he's drunk. And when he realises that the cars that are stationary, he starts braking. So he's swerving all over the dual carriageway, you know, coming towards the car and the van. Anyway, the driver jumps out, and my mate's standing there, so the busy shouts, run, run. So we're all running like this, looking back. And the next minute, the car runs into the back of my van. But fortunately, he'd really slowed down by this time. And he just dented me bumper a bit. But that goes forward, smashes all the lights on the police car, right? And the busy's in the van. So he's being thrown. And when he emerges, he's got a big cut on his... So when he sees me, he's like, he runs over, he's, yeah, it's calling me also, grabs me, drags me to this so-called police car and threw me in it. He said, don't you move. So I'm in a state of shock, this speed, I'm totally off my head. And anyway, so they took us to Ainsdale police station. Oh, it was mad. So anyway, this is in the book as well, but you know, anyway, they've got nothing on us. So anyway, next minute he finds a little packet of green, a 50p deal, and he said, we found that in the van. So as far as I was concerned, they planted it. So anyway, we get taken, we get charged. Now they're looking for any way on earth to connect us to drugs. So a few days later, 2 detectives, drug squad, stop us on the road and arrest us and take scrapings out of our pocket, right? Which they say there's cannabis tracing. So they're doing me for this and me mate. And anyway, we were on trial for ages. And anyway, he breaks in foolishly to a house in a residential area, burglary, me mate. So anyway, when he comes to court, the barrister said to us, he said, we had separate barristers, he said, listen, this was the quarter sessions, that's pretty bad sessions, you go to jail. So anyway, the barrister says, he said, listen, that scrapings, he said, you're away with that charge. He said, the fella's just got away with it in some other town. So he said, you're all right with that one. He said to me, mate, he said, the judge, because you was burgling in a residential area, he's given you 6 months. He said, as for the green, he said, if your mate takes responsibility for that, he'll get a concurrent, so he won't do time for it. But he's getting 6 months in the Borstal. So I was totally cleared, but also they were. You know what I mean? Because these police, they were high up and must have been so late at night, they've been called in and they thought they're just going to get these 2 hippies, but all they got was a big accident. There was a big tailback of cars, going towards Southport. So anyway, I never slept for 5 days. I was just totally, just...
5 days?
5 days.
What was going through your head?
Oh, well, I wouldn't like to tell you. One was, you shouldn't have took them tablets. But they're not going to...
How did it feel after 5 days when you came down?
Terrible.
Crashed?
Oh, just like depression. Because that's what stopped me taking them. I couldn't handle the depression. It's horrible.
Yeah. So we're almost at 2 hours, Jimmy. Is there any stories that you think you've left out or anything you'd like to say before we finish?
Just have to have a little look.
Okay.
There's that much involved in the book.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
So if people want to check the book out, it's on Amazon. It's a Kindle-only version presently. It's called The Great Divide by Jimmy Bannon. And if you are watching this on YouTube, we'll have Jimmy's links, including the book link, in the description box below this video. And I've really enjoyed the past 2 hours hearing these stories. You tell them in such a warm, funny way. It's been very relaxing and entertaining to listen to.
There's just one other thing. I met this, I lived in Liverpool for 5 years. And anyway, I met this Nigerian lad and we ended up, he was selling weights of the green. So I started buying, and he had a seaman. He was a 3rd officer in the Nigerian shipping company, totally trusted. And in the boardroom, where the big plate was of the ship, all screws around it, he used to put 30 weights of green in there and bring it to the students. So anyway, I got into making oil and, from the green.
It's good for people with ailments, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And anyway, so I sent 3 big boilers over. What you used to wash in, copper boilers.
Yep.
So anyway, me and this other Nigerian lad, flew over there, sent it all over on the boat, all the stuff with the 3rd officer. And he goes over there, and then this other seaman, he's supposed to be bringing like 50 weights for us. I'm supposed to be setting all this up in Lagos. So anyway, it comes to go. It's a long story. You'd have to read about it, but
yeah, don't cut it short.
Okay, but yeah. So what happened was the seaman who was supposed to be bringing this 50 weights for us, while he came home, we went to see him on the ship in the dock. And anyway, his mother died. So he had to miss the ship. So all that fell through. So then I was looking then for this third officer to cover my costs. It was Jimmy as well, the two of us were involved. And I went with them because I said to him, would he take me to where they grow it, in Nigeria? And he said, no, if they see a white man, they run. He said, you just can't go there. He said, but I'll take you to where I buy my stuff from. And it was on the outskirts of Lagos. So anyway, I gets picked up with my mate by this Roy. And he had a driver. So we drives out the city. And there's roadblocks everywhere. Army roadblocks. So anyway, we come to this place. It's a little place with little bungalows. It was just a staging post for them. Anyway, I goes in and I bought 15 weight off them. And anyway, when I gets there, the third officer said to me, go and sit over there. So it was all like bushland. And so anyway, there was these two old black guys sitting by the fire. Big, lovely fire. And anyway, I goes home and sitting there. Anyway, they were smoking weed. They must have been in the 50s. Anyway, they got up and they left me with a joint. So I started smoking. Oh, I don't know why. Next minute, I was like tripping. This stuff is so strong. And anyway, and then I could hear all the stuff in the bush, around me. And I'm thinking, wow, all movements. And I'm thinking, something's going to jump out at me. So anyway, next minute, Roy, the third officer, he shouts me, so takes me in the hut, shows me, the fella shows me the weed. Big cement bag full. Anyway, I said, have you got anything you can put in? So we got a whiskey box, so I pressed it all in. And then we go to the car. And anyway, Roy says to me, get in the back. And he puts the box in. So I've got my feet on the box, and then we drive back. Well, it must have been about 12 miles. Roadblocks, but every time he come, because he's very middle class, this, Roy, lovely fella. But anyway, I said, is it all right for me being in this car with this? He said, don't worry. So anyway, we come to about 5 roadblocks. We were stopped by about 3. Anyway, every time he just showed his license, money in it, and he just waved us through. But it was frightening. I said to myself, what am I doing out here in this place when I've got money back home? You know what I mean? Because you got a long time in Nigeria. If you got caught with the
anything can happen.
Yeah. So that was it. And then he brought the stuff back for me, my 15. And I'd said for them to press all the green. And he said, these people don't like it pressed, you see. So I said, my people they're not bothered, you know what I mean, about it. So anyway, I took 50 weights off through Canada Dock. When the ship come in, the customs were searching it, right? And the sister ship was berthed across the dock. And anyway, they had 150 weight of green in the ceiling in the captain's cabin. The cook's cabin, chief cook. And he'd gone ashore because the customs had come and left the boat. And left it like it's finished. Anyway, they found it all, and he was celebrating in town somewhere. Oh. Yeah, he ended up in Walton prison. Yeah, so anyway, I goes in, and they had customs in the cranes, watching the ship, because they come back to this ship and found 150 weights in that cook ceiling. So they were watching. So I said to me, mate, listen, Roy, I said, if they stayed to the end, I said, you'll have to take it back, to Nigeria. I said, I'm not taking it off. 2 days before, the customs, Roy came to see me. He said, they've left. They finished searching now. So I said, well, I'll take it off tomorrow night. So anyway, the young student who had met him through, I borrowed this mate of mine, had a big car, so, and I put Pall Mall taxis on the windscreen. So I get the students in, and I said to him, when I go in the dock, I said, I'll take you down. And the plan was Roy would be standing at the gangway, and he had like 5 big holdalls. So anyway, as I go into the berth, as I turn right, there's 2 customs officers standing with the bonnet up of the car. So anyway, and I've gone like that, looked out, oh, they must have just finished duty. So anyway, I just drove past them and I turned them like that, looking at me. So I drove down dead slow. I get to the end, goes round, and it turns into this where the other bit was. And anyway, drives up to the car. We both jump out. He lashes the bags down. So we throw them in the boot. And then the students, he went on the ship, and I just drove down. When I'm driving down, I'm thinking, are they going to still be there? Are they going to be waiting? Anyway, as I turned the corner, they're gone. So I just drove down to the gate, the policeman on the gate. He's an old fella. And he'd only just seen me coming in, because that was the timing. You had to get the timing right. So in and out, basically. So when he seen me, he just lifted up the thing for me to go out. So the next minute I was on the dock road. Yeah.
Wow.
That was a good
So there's tons more stories in Jimmy's book, The Great Divide, on Amazon. Link is in the description box below this video. And I've just sat here mesmerised by your escapades. So a huge thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much,
Cheers.
mate. I really appreciate it, mate.